It's been 5 years since calorie listings became a mandatory addition to Ontario food menus. The Healthy Menu Choices Act aimed to help Canadians make, well, just that, healthier food choices. Here with us to reflect on this change years later is award-winning registered dietitian Sue Mah. Sue, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I'm wondering, does this act do what its name says it does? Does listing calories on menus actually alter Canadian consumers' food choices?
Such a great question, Noor. And the bottom line is we don't really know. There isn't a lot of research to show the impact of calorie labeling on menus. And so it sort of all stemmed from the fact that obesity rates were rising in Ontario. So the idea was that consumers would make healthier choices and choose better choices when they would see these calorie labels. Now, one study out of the University of Waterloo looked at about 1,000 teenagers and adults between the ages of 60 to 30, because, they tend to go to restaurants. And they found that 57% of these consumers actually even noticed the calorie labels on menus, and only 38% of them said that the calories affected or influenced their food choices. So there's not a lot of research to show that it has a positive impact.
That's really interesting, Sue, because I've heard discussions online about calorie listings perhaps negatively impacting certain consumers, maybe people who are diagnosed with eating disorders. What do you think of that?
You're absolutely right there. And when the calorie labeling was first introduced, many health professionals did raise concerns that it might trigger issues in people who are dealing with eating disorders or recovering from eating disorders. So that certainly is an unintended impact. There's also an issue that looking at calories only promotes diet culture, right? So we know that food is more than just calories. And there's an implication that, hey, if you only knew how many calories was in the food, you would eat better. And that's just not true. There are so many other factors that come into play when we choose a food to eat.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Sue, because when we talk about calories, you do say that it's not everything, and we should have some sort of insight about content, such as perhaps the fiber content, the amount of protein. What exactly gives us a good idea of what kind of food we're consuming?
Yeah, I love that point. And you're so right. Calories do not tell the whole story. So, as an example, a yogurt parfait has more calories than a chocolate dip donut, right? And so, which of these foods do you think is a better choice, the yogurt parfait or the donut?
I would assume it's the
Obviously,
parfait.
it's the parfait, right? So it has 3 times more fiber, 2 times more protein. There's calcium and there's vitamin B12. So we can't just look at calories. You need to look at the whole picture. And when it comes to obesity, there's so many different factors involved. I mean, obesity and overweight are such complex issues, right? There's hormones involved, genetics, sleep, lifestyle, stress. So all of these factors come into play. And so when you think about the food that you want to eat, you got to look at the whole package. And also, we eat food for more than just calories. We eat food for joy, for celebration, and for comfort.
We have almost 30 seconds left here, Sue, but I want to quickly touch on this. Is there something that you think is missing from Ontario food menus that should perhaps be included as opposed to just calories?
I would love to see more nutrition information. And a University of Toronto study found they looked at 10,000 restaurant menu items, and they found that an average entree has more than 50% of your day's worth of sodium and about 45% of your day's worth of saturated fat. So if you're going out to eat, I'd recommend looking at the menus ahead of time online. Get a look at the entire nutrition profile, not just the calories, but the protein, the fiber, the fat, all those vitamins and nutrients, and then you can make an informed choice.
Well, of course, lots more to discuss if we had the time. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Sue Mah is a registered dietitian and an award-winning dietitian joining us on Global News Morning to talk about the Ontario Healthier Food Choices Act 5 years after being mandated. Thank you so much for your time, Sue.